do it. Let's get into it.
All right, welcome to another episode of God Yay or Nay. I'm here with my man Dino Archie. Dino, thanks for joining me, man.
Man, thanks for being patient with me, man. Uh,
Hey, I always have patience for you, man. So
that's dope, man. You know what? That's cool, man. To when you're young, you don't have a lot of patience, and patience is something that most people don't really have. The older I get, the more I appreciate it. So
I
yeah,
honestly, can you be in the comedy game? And like, I'll let everybody know you're like a fucking one of my favorite comics. But like, can you be in
okay.
this game without patience? I don't even think you can.
You can, but you can, but you'll just be doing it a certain way that is a way that I don't want. I've seen it done wrong. You could do the game wrong and stay in it,
Do you
But
mean like?
it's objective, but just from me, if there's plenty of guys that I started with or that I've seen that have a career, but it's like, man, I don't like being around them. I don't like.
Mhm.
I can't take anything from. I'm not inspired by how they're moving. I'm not inspired by how much they're booked. They're booked and busy. That's never been some. When younger, that's you're like, oh, I want to be busy, but then it's like, but how do you want to? Who do you want to be?
Yeah. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be busy?
How do you
Those are
want to
like,
be?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. In the game, you could, because yeah, it's true though. You're right. You got to be patient, hanging around at some comedy spots, trying to become get on, trying to become a regular. The whole process does take patience. So you are correct. But I've just seen being in that line, people waiting and going to the next steps a certain way. You're like, yeah, I don't. Nah, you got to give up too much to. That doesn't look fun.
yeah.
Ask you know those kind of people who are like, every time you mention something, you're like, oh yeah, I went over to Dunkin' Donuts, and they're like, who books that? Who books Dunkin' Donuts? You're like, man, I just had I wanted a coffee and a donut, man. No, I, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Oh,
just
I
never
know
wanted to
exactly
be.
what you're
I
saying.
Yeah, I never wanted to be who books that guy. But
No, and that's
be patient. Yeah,
yeah, and
there's two
dude,
different
honestly,
things.
that's one of the reasons I got you on here. We'll get into that a little bit more. But give my audience just a little bit of your background, just
Yeah.
so they know who we're
Okay.
talking to.
Okay. You say you want me to give him the
Yeah,
background?
I could do it. I won't
I
do it
thought
as
you
good as
said
you.
I thought I thought no, man. I have it depends on what background you're talking about, man. Because I've kind of lived. I'm 38 now, man. I was looking back at it. I've lived so many different lives. I feel like I was an athlete as younger, and then I was a salesman. I sold cars, when I was
Oh, really?
20. Yeah, man, I was in the salesman game, and then I went to LA for screenwriting and film school, because it's like snake oil. It's like the land of snake oil,
Yeah.
and the idea of working sucks. So, let's go sell some stories, man. And then it takes. So I got into the film thing, and I love film, but making it is a lot of work though too. Pretty much, I'm lazy. That's what I realized. I'm lazy. I don't. But unless I find something that is like, oh yeah, this is me. So that's how all that led me to doing stand up. Um, my buddy started the room at this bowling alley in LA, and he was like, we both loved comedy, loved stand up. We'd go to the Comedy Store, the Belly Room on Thursday nights, the Black Night, where it was just the funniest. Not that the other night people aren't funny, but that shit was funny. And I was seeing Dion Cole and all these other dope names, dope people that were like giving it up, and it'd be 8 people in the crowd. So we watched, and I wanted to be a writer, and like, oh, okay, I'll produce a movie and maybe book that guy, because that guy's funny. And my friend was like, yo, I'm doing this room, and you know, you got to host it. And I was selling phones at AT&T at the time, and Encino, in the same you remember the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin,
Oh, yeah.
where they sold the area where they sold the store that was like right above
Yeah, yeah.
the bagel shop. That was my little area. So I was selling phones just in LA, like, this whatever, this isn't really, there's no need to really be out here if this is what I'm going to do. Is sell phones and live in LA. Because if you're not, being broke in LA is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, being broke in LA. You can be broke in New York probably better than you can in LA. LA, just to leave the house, is like $100. It's $50 every time you just leave your crib.
And yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, my buddy said, "Yo, you gotta host this, man. You're the funniest guy I know, man." And this is so I was like, I got nothing else going on right now, so I did it. And then that is the one thing that I really wanted to invest in and really believe I could learn or do well or have fun doing. My material was weird and mostly trash, but not mostly trash. Yeah, I can't even say that. I'm not gonna even shit on my early material. I was just, you learning how to be a comic.
Yeah.
And you think you got to do certain things, but I learned how to do it. I'm still learning, but it was like, I bombed a bunch and, but I get comfortable. My jokes would bomb because I'd have like a lot of, what if Freddy Krueger did a toast at your wedding? I had, like these conceptual kind of comedy, it just wasn't hella funny. But then if they, boo, that sucks or something. But if someone's talking shit, then I could get into the moment.
Oh yeah.
I was good at that from the start of being in the moment. And and then you just need some, then I threw myself into it and became a stand-up comedian. So that's my short background.
Yeah. And you know what? I always or I always thought that about you when I first met you back in Vancouver, because you did start, you're from Fresno, started in LA, and then you moved down to Vancouver. And then that's where I kind of met you. And I think you were probably quite a few years into the game when I met you, but you were always so natural at getting into the moment. Do you know why that is?
Man, I don't know why that is. I just think that's what's more interesting to me. I think maybe that's why.
That's okay.
That's just the most, that's the best experience, more so than, say if you got a 10-minute on stage and you go, okay, I wrote this 10 minutes, or got this, or I've done this set, let's even say, and I know where it's funny. And if you go from one room, you do that same thing and you get those same reactions, it's just like, that was almost like a play more than I don't get a lot out of that.
Okay.
I've done it too, but I don't get a lot out of that. No, that doesn't feel as dope as something in the moment,
No, I get that.
It just never does for me. So I think being in the moment is like, I don't even want to talk to people when they're not in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even waste that kind of energy or whatever. I just kind of we don't have to talk. If we just, I don't do that.
You're just at the we don't need to talk age. I like that.
I'm not mad at you. I got nothing against you. But if you really want to talk, I'll listen though. That's one thing about me. If you want to talk, I'll listen. I did that in all the airports through all the years of traveling. I've listened to so many strangers, man, and I just can't stand when it's bullshit, like just a bullshit conversation or somebody's not even present. They're in their script. They go around telling people this story about, their sister who whatever is an anti-vaxxer and the nephew, and you're just like, man, what are you telling me this shit?
Oh.
Yeah. What are you telling me on, man?
Yeah, and they're waiting for you to stop talking so they can get back on their script, right?
Yeah, that's that's the worst, man. When you're talking and you see somebody fixing up their mouth to say their next word, you're like, you're not listening, man. They're like, you're like, yo, just listen. Stop with this. Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that fucking face. Yeah.
I will tell you though, man, because for me, I think getting into that moment was probably one of the harder things for me. At first, writing jokes came a little bit easier, and I was like better at that. So like that's one thing I remember when I started watching you, because that was the first thing that hit me when I saw you like first on stage in Vancouver, was just like, holy shit, this dude's so comfortable in the moment. And not only that, you just fucking love it. I remember like when you used to start doing comedy, or when I first started seeing you doing comedy, you would go on stage and like you would just fucking relish in the silence and the moment, and then like you'll like come up with like fucking good shit out of that just because like you had no fear of it. So yeah, like for that, like I just have to say, I like for me that was always something that like I kind of learned from you in that way, where I was like, all right, be allowed to be in that silence, be allowed, or like allow yourself to be in that silence and just fucking trust yourself and to let the funny come from that, right?
Man, I almost caught myself doing it. I'm an active listener, but I fixed my mouth to say something. I almost hit it right. Oh, I'm doing it. No. Yeah, no, that's the thing, man. Is it's hard to it's dope. That's what I love about comedy and art or whatever, or just creating. I'll say that is you get to pick and say, man, I fuck with that, and another guy likes that. Somebody who comes in there with their briefcase and their jokes are ready and they mean business. I don't like because we're monkeys, man. We're the clowns. We're clowning around, man. Like we're important. We are. That's the funny thing, though. We're clowns, but clowns are essential.
Yeah.
They're essential. They weren't essential to the economy, but they're essential to the society, man. To people. People need to clown around, man. They need that. They need to, and they can. Some people, when the issue's too heavy, to really everyone get on the same board, that's when comedy comes in and lets you laugh at it. That's what's so dope about it.
Yeah, it lets you laugh at it, and like, no, that's what can actually make you change your mind. Like I've never seen people change mind, but like jokes I've seen people change their mind, or at least
It
give you
gives
some leeway, right?
give you a different perspective,
Yeah.
man. Give you a different perspective. But to me, getting to being on stage in the moment, some of that was a lack of having confidence in the material too, because sometimes that I do have not all the time I feel good about the material.
Okay.
Not all the time, man, because what's true yesterday isn't always true or what's funny yesterday isn't always funny tomorrow
Yeah.
or today or something.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're
You know
saying.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you do the joke, it's like you have a good joke and a real take, and then you do it the first time, you're like, oh yeah, I meant that. And then you're in another room and you're like, I'm not feeling it tonight, but I'm just gonna do my Caitlyn Jenner. There are certain bits I couldn't do if I didn't fully believe in it. Then it'll just sound like a statement, and then you sound like Tony Hinch.
Oh yeah.
And you just, if they can take the fucking, if they go, okay, maybe that was just the setup of the joke, and they go 5 minutes later, King Kong Wing, while you go, oh, okay, this isn't it. I guess this is what the nigga said then. Yeah. So you really, I know that's. Oh, sorry. Let me adjust That is. My grandfather was a preacher, man, a pastor, more than a preacher, like a man of God, man. And when he preached, he always would have a game plan, but he would. It's just the Bible, right? So it's like if he did a different show every Sunday, man. Like he was in the moment, and the moment is going to make for a real experience. You can still put on the show with a plan. That's great. Obviously, as a comic, you gotta. That's our job, is to have jokes or have jokes, meaning some words that you say that people laugh at, that are original. They don't have to be whatever they are. Is whatever they are. They're supposed to be original, and they're supposed to make people laugh. Most of it is supposed to make people laugh. You have some time to make people think or whatever, but in the stand-up thing, it's like the majority got to be like, no one. You can say whatever the fuck you want if they're gonna laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the rule I always used was if you can't do that joke about those people, if it's about a certain group of people in front of them, the majority of the crowd got to be them, and it got to be they got to be laughing.
Mm-hmm. And did
So
you
that's
say your uncle was a preacher?
my grandfather was
Grandfather. Oh,
he by the time he passed away, he was his peers had made appointed him or to be an apostle. Like in that world, he was made. He was deep in the
yeah.
game.
He
He
was
was
a
a
made
made man.
man,
Yeah,
right?
he was a made man. Yeah, yeah, he was a made man.
That's amazing. I could see a little bit of like maybe that kind of like because you were saying like in the preacher world it's about bringing everybody into that moment and having like a singular moment, and in comedy
Right.
that's like what you're fucking trying to do, and like
Oh yeah.
it, for some people it takes different times. Like it took me years to like fucking find that and being like, oh, I brought everybody into this one moment, and like I started like now I'm like, okay, I can use my charisma, I can use my presence, I can use my like being here in the moment to bring them in. And that like creates a whole different level of like performance.
Oh man, yeah, that's your sauce, man. You know, when I would watch you, I seen you start or early on it, and then through the years, every time I would see you, you'd be getting better and getting more, being better, just getting more comfortable and letting people see who you are because your material was always funny to me. You always had clever, funny, well written stuff, but then when you're being yourself, it's just like, oh yeah, this is something that it's something that nobody else it can do. You know,
Mhm.
there's no reason to get into stand up just to not stand out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of stand ups, when you get in it, you click up or something, or some people get lost in the fray. You can get influenced by people. We all have, but it's really about your own sauce, man, and you know, your own stuff. That's the only reason to 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 do it, really, to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and like man, like eventually you got to be vulnerable, right? You got to fucking say who you are and fucking show it to people like raw, because and that's when people will fucking give you shit back too, right? Like if you're fucking saying like this is me, like it hurts when somebody fucking tells you like, "Oh, that's you." Well, you're a fucking loser.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing. The risk, small risk, small reward,
Small, yeah.
and then the big risk, whatever. Yeah, if you're saying something that's risky, if you're talking risky business, But then if you miss, you got the Tony, you got the Tony.
This is
If you miss, you know, there's nothing funnier than when a comic bombs.
yeah.
There's nothing funnier than when and it's great. When you do your thing, it's almost like I want either magic or just like something that doing it so bad that it's fun. But
Mhm.
every time be fun, not never. I don't want to come back to comedy and do any sets that are clocked in. You know that feel like I guess I'll do this. It's like, man, nobody needs that.
Yeah. All right. That's a good transition then, because like I did want to talk to you about like because I remember, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, you came out with this thing like I'm retiring from comedy, and I think it was like kind of like a funny thing, like just but like I think a part of it was just kind of you understanding like maybe I would say like a kind of like a toxic part of like that hustle culture in comedy that maybe is not
Yeah,
good for your like mental health, or maybe it doesn't make you happy or something. Like yeah, can you maybe like go
I
through
can
the
speak to
thought
that.
process in that?
Yeah, I did. I spoke about this with Comedy Hype, man. A really cool uh, comedy blog and platform, and I saw a tweet go out, and it circulated our Facebook thing that said something about grinding isn't good, and all these comics spread it like, yeah, preach. I'm like, man, that's what I've been saying for years.
Uh-uh.
Grinding, working hard or whatever. I never want to be accused of working hard. It's like if it's your passion and it's something you love, then you just do it. You
Mm.
just gonna do it. And when I fell into that though, getting busy with stand up and making a living doing it, and then oh, you got to get your socials up. You got to, beg people to come to the show. That's how it felt for me at that time. I was like not begging, but going, hey, I got this show. I'm gonna be in, Chicago. I'm gonna be in this place and that, and it was like it didn't make that much of a difference for me at that time. So I was in Chicago. My grandfather passed away, and I was working in this. It was like all week, from Tuesday to Sunday, and I said, man, yeah, this isn't really, I've given a lot to this. Am I getting that same thing in return?
Mm-hmm.
And this is after maybe 12 years in, 10 years in at least. Yeah, about 10. And I'm not owed shit though, too. The game doesn't owe you anything. But it's like, at what point do you say, I need to either walk away or negotiate new terms? And I couldn't negotiate new terms. So I just say, yeah, I quit. And it was just funny to me to quit when you're not famous.
Ha 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 ha.
That was funny to retire when like you're just a you're just a factory worker, and it's like, yo, I stepped down from my position. So I just wanted to do that funny, but it was a decision to not do comedy that way. To go, I'm not gonna do the hustle thing. I'm gonna pick some quality gigs. I'm gonna focus on the material, get my life kind of bit back more in order. Stop drinking as much. I still have a good time or whatever, but I was like, let me get my shit back together. Started hitting the gym, and then thinking more, just like, I remember I went to this photographer's. He had some kind of like, he was talking to he was giving on not a seminar, but some kind of like little class to other photographers, and he was a journalist, a photojournalist, and he had been all over the world. He's done all these campaigns for Apple, for NBC, for Olympics, and then he went to North Korea and he did a book, and he was dope, man. And I said, hey man, what's one piece of advice you got for photographers? And he said, he goes, for me, I these days I think more and I shoot less. Sometimes you'll miss the angle shooting a bunch. It won't be quality, but I think more and I shoot less. And I just like that. I took that and just applied it and was like, man, I want this. If I'm gonna be in this game for another 10 years, it needs to be different. It needs to be better,
Yeah.
And so stepping back like that made me realize I do want to do it, So I retired, and that just meant I stopped posting shows. I stopped telling people where they could see me and where I'd be. All this hella available. I was like, man, I've been out there for 10 years. So when I did that, people responded on Facebook. It was almost like a eulogy, man. Like people were like, yo, and they gave me my flowers. Not one bad thing was said. People were like, you were the greatest. I think it made people it was like, oh, he's gone. Something about it. It was natural, but it felt good. It was like, yo, people do what I'm doing is contributing to my community,
Mm-hmm.
to the people who fuck with my kind of comedy. And so, yeah, it was just the smartest, funniest way I could buy myself some time to think, man, and be more intentional with it, and come back with with a better approach.
Yeah. And like I love that whole think more, man. Like that's a great
I thought, that was that guy, man.
yeah, because I think that's a big thing with any kind of like creative process, art or whatever it is, like even any work, man. Like the first 5, 10 years might be that fucking like learning the craft and fucking like actually like, like that whole process is like different for everybody, but you have to kind of put in some kind of work to learn the craft and actually get good at it. But like when you get to the point where you're at, where you're like, okay, now like you have to ask those questions. What the fuck am I doing this for? Like,
Yeah.
where do I want to go? And like I've noticed that too. Like I've asked that question to comics a lot of times, and you realize they don't know where they want to go. They don't know what they're doing this for. They're just kind of getting other people's ideas. They're like, oh no, they said we have to build our social media. They said we have to be out doing 3 shows a night. They said this, they said that,
Right.
and then like they're like, when I do this, if something will happen eventually. But it's just kind of like, you gotta think, you gotta ask those questions. What's gonna happen if I keep doing this? What do I
Fact.
want? And like, no one asks what they want. Do people ask that anymore? Fuck.
Man, that's a fact, man. You know, only the guys, only the people who make it, they say make it, but make it successfully quick in this game. They do that where they go, I want this. There's people who I do know in the game that were very intentional about that. I want this, and we all have the ability to do that, but it takes a while to realize that you can do that. So that's a good point, man. It's never like, what do I want? It's, oh, this is what you got to do, like you were saying, and we're taking somebody's roadmap that worked whenever they were doing it, because the world's always changing. You know what I mean? There's probably a comic on Twitch popping, and TikTok is you know is I'm not shit. I'm not mad at it, man. I don't tell nobody anything. It's just like, but I respect when somebody knows what they want. Me, I think I love I have loved the journey. I love traveling. I love doing shit, and retiring made me realize the other shit I like to do. You know, it gave me a chance. Comedy will take doing 3 shows a night every night for 10 years is not a life.
No.
That's not a life.
And yeah, and like I've also seen that fucking like kill people's material too, because it's like you don't even relate to anybody anymore.
yeah, everything is always in some airport or every story is about a drunk person at a show or an airport. You're like, man, we do a whole bunch of other shit in life. That's true, man. I think the pandemic has been great for that. The pandemic it made you do shit during the daytime.
Yeah.
I've got a whole day now. I love the daytime. I was a night cat, you know, before this. And now I enjoy waking up, man, early and doing shit, just thinking, man, or going to a coffee shop, gym, whatever it is. I like the daytime, and I like the night too. So, but with stand up, you wait. Back then, we would you're waiting for the night to do your 10-minute set, and it's like, man, that was cool too. I had a fun time doing that, but life's not just about that. It's about the next challenge. It's
so
the next challenge.
Can I ask then, like, in the like since that whole like retirement thing, and like how has your like mental health changed, or your view of like do you feel in like a lot healthier, better place kind of thing?
Man, that's a good point, man. A good question. I do, man. I'm not just saying that. I don't wish like, oh damn, like I wish I never said that and I could have still been hustling. I feel like that was a good call to step back and always and to reevaluate it before I make the move. I still do that now. I'm able to do that because at some point you got to stop. You're running too fast. Yep. You know, and for me, I was running too fast. I like having a good time, and I at that time it was like always yes and never all green lights. I was saying that a lot. Like, oh yeah, all green lights. And if you're saying that a lot, you're not. All those lights aren't green. There's some yellows and reds that you're just making green, and you need to slow down, man, and get your shit kind of together and on order. So I was able to do that, man. I still, you know, I still struggle with it though. I want to always be going and moving. We talked about that before the podcast. Like, you know, it takes me to being like sick to not, you know, do shit. So I'm still trying to be, you know, still be okay, not in crazy movement.
Yeah. And I think that's like also like knowing yourself a little bit too. Like once you kind of know that, like, hey, I am a guy who moves, like I'm a mover. Like once you kind of know that a little bit, like yeah, I think you can use that knowledge to just like build a healthier life around it. Like understanding that I do like to move, but understanding
Yeah.
I do need that rest.
Yeah, man, hell yeah. And then the older you get, man, booze is
Oh,
the
it sucks.
devil. So
It fucking
and I
kills you,
I
man.
used to have such a good time.
I used to love it,
I
man.
used, I used to have such a good time. And now it's just like it's worse than cocaine. I've never even done coke, but I think liquor it got, yeah. It got so not drinking as much, man. Being I smoke more weed, so not drinking as much and not having regular stand up has forced me to confront, that motion. Like, oh, and not being able to travel the right way with
Mhm.
lockdown. So I like that, man. I like that life kind of did that for me in a way. To me, that's how it affected me was like, yo, there's some shit you gotta take care of, man, and that's okay. And you just need to sit your ass down right now and then get your once you sit down, you'll get some clarity. And I think that's what happened. And then when I did stand up, because I was working 2020 when it was locked down everywhere, I was doing shows somehow. People were asking me to do shows. And it was some of the best stuff that I've done. And I hadn't done comedy in 6 months.
Mm.
All those 3 sets a night and all of that, you work a whole hour out over a year and then put a special. It was like, nah, man, the special I came up with all that material in a month, not doing those sets, because I really got to see how funny the world was. The world is. The world's funny, man. This whole thing is hilarious, man. Like the tragedy, the comedy, it's all pretty amazing,
Awesome.
man. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and
It's pretty, yeah. It's
and people
awesome,
take it
man.
way too goddamn seriously.
They take it too seriously, man. There's nothing funnier than like getting kicked when you're down, man, but then you're not out of the game. That's
Yeah.
It's like there's something about that human spirit where you're like, yo, this is, yeah, no comedy, boom, no, you can't travel. We're gonna take all this shit from you. Now what are you gonna do? And
Mhm.
what's gonna come out of you? And I'm liking the person that this thing is bringing out of me.
Okay.
I'm liking the person. I'm not perfect, and I'm definitely I'm not even trying to be, but I'm being more okay with myself. Like, some people go to therapy, which is cool, but I'm kind of doing my own analysis on myself because I got time, and I get to like I got in an argument earlier, and I was like, I get to sit and think about it. I like doing that. I like analyzing. So I'm not saying like, oh, I'm just this Zen master who never gets into no smoke. like I'm always into some smoke. The more peaceful you try to be, the more smoke comes to you. So yeah, I'm ready for that too. But I said, okay, man, it's not that serious, man. Like this is a big symphony, man, and we're just a couple notes in it. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm cool with that. And I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna move and shake. I'm gonna play my part. And the only way to do that is to ignore all the bullshit and not follow somebody else.
Yeah.
It's your part. It's Nora's part. It's Dino's part. But something is calling you to playing it the way you're playing it, which I did because about your podcast, I didn't know what it was about, but I would see you meditating and looking hella like you had a glow, man. Like you look so peaceful and beloved. And I said, that's different, you know.
Nah, hey man, like you said, we're all fucking notes and sympathy. I love that. It's like that, like yeah, we're all just waves in the ocean, which is true.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. All that shit.
you gotta be your own wave. You can't fucking be a wave and go look at another wave and be like, okay, so that's how a wave does it. It doesn't work like that. Fucking be your own wave and find that wave. Find the wave. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what that's what's so funny about like analogies. If you got to get in and out, or you go, or you go,
Yeah, it's
or,
like,
or or you crash, bro. You go in and out, or you crash.
yeah, that wave crashed pretty quick. And I just got overtaken by another wave. It's like,
Yeah,
uh,
when you start adding other characters in it, and it always goes all over the place. Those are hilarious.
all right,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yo, I wanted to ask you before we get going here. Because like over the last year, like since this 2020 and like the whole fucking world, like just so much shit happened. You're always so like outspoken on like racial issues, especially in the States and stuff. Like what did you like I'm just thinking like in 2020, like I don't know, but like what was your kind of whole idea on like this whole shit that happened? And like now we have like, you had the whole like protests and everything, and then like you went to
Mhm.
like like Trumpism, Biden getting elected, and
Right.
like I know you're fucking. I see you're outspoken on like the America's issues and shit, like with like racism and stuff. Like, how was it like talking about that, being like, hey, I want to put this forth and I want to be open and talking about this, and like you said, the smoke comes back at you. Like, what was that with you? Like, how did you take that?
Uh, I, it's. I guess so. It's interesting. I'm just hearing it from you because I don't really. Yeah, I don't really. I didn't get a lot of smoke, to be honest. I
Okay.
I didn't get damn near any smoke. It was just people agreeing with it or laughing about it, because when I share it, I still am seeing it through a funny lens,
Mm-hmm.
just because, yeah, racism isn't funny. I get it, but it's like there's this new conversation on it, or like it's just like, you guys hear about this thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Black people aren't getting treated fairly. Like just now, did you? There was this book. There was this book, White Fragility, and it was like a white woman was like, "Yo, maybe we're a little, things aren't fair," and they're like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way," So I shared it from, yeah,
Finally, a white lady came and told us this.
yeah. They couldn't get the book off the shelves, man, or on the shelves or whatever, and so just having no stand up readily available, and in stand up, I don't like to talk about race for long, because you've seen me, man. It's because it's boring, and if it's a bunch of white people, it's like it's almost just like not even worth it, man. Unless you're gonna, I would never do it to make the black people look worse for the punchline, for
Yeah.
some white people's understanding. Or there's a line, man, where you're belittling something for a cheap laugh, and for what? Unless you can approach it from a way of like, man, I'm gonna just take this thing that's true and funny that you people did, that is coming from you, to where you're gonna laugh at. Then it's comedy. Like with the perfect example to me was like the Aunt Jemima Uncle Ben debacle. Yeah, the one where they, at the fever pitch of this whole thing last year, they were like, oh, white people were on a roll, and they were like, all the Black Lives Matter bitches, all the white girls, Black Lives Matter, well, Wendy, awkward as fuck, defund the police, all in their Twitter handle, and then they're like, and they were like, who's racist? Aunt Jemima. It's like, come on, man. Like, no one asked for that.
Hey,
So the comedy in it became like when people were on board, and then being too on board, and then just fucking over the top with this, with this, I don't know whatever you call it, they virtue signaling or something. And I'm like, they're trying to talk on my behalf, and they're supportive, but it's like, it's kind of, I don't want that support. It's a toxic kind of love.
it's weird. Actually, and that's a good point. And that Aunt Jemima shit, I've seen you post some fucking
Yeah,
hilarious
yeah, yeah.
jokes about it.
That was a funny. Yeah, that was a funny.
And
That
it's
was a funny
funny.
bit.
Do you think though, like with that whole like the Aunt Jemima thing being just like the perfect thing, like there's a part of it where like people are like now saying like everything's like racist, and like
Yeah,
then like you have like that other part, like we were just talking about Tony Hinchcliffe, and this guy, he went on stage just a day or two ago and basically called his opener like an effing chink kind of thing, just like
yeah,
straight up like a racial slur, and like just like I don't know how you can not, because like I saw people online now saying like, oh, it's not racist, you're not seeing the joke,
yeah.
and you're just
Cancel.
sitting
Yeah,
there like half
cancel
the people think
culture.
everything's racist and the other people think like nothing's racist. It's just like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, and people. I think that's always been like, it's probably always been like that. We just didn't know what everyone thought. We didn't get everyone's opinion.
True.
The
True.
news, we got it from the news, but it's probably always been like that, and it might always be, man. But that doesn't change it. That doesn't change. They're not gonna be putting that clip up 10 years from now, going like, this was true comedy, like how they do with Richard Pryor
Yeah.
and Dave Chappelle, and that's okay. I'm not even tripping about. I'm not like going in on that. That not even that wasn't a joke. That was just a bad statement. That there's there's consequences, and then there's being canceled. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you can't really cancel when something's uncancelable. Like, it just means it's right. It's more right than wrong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So, if that makes any sense. And they did go on a frenzy of canceling people in 2020, based on anything that was racial, and then now they're calling people, it ain't black no more, it's BPOC, like a person of color or black. So I don't even know. It's a bunch of acronyms that, again, man, no one asked for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, yo, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know who's at these meetings, and they're not inviting the right kind of people there to go.
It's the
No, we're not
fucking, it's
gonna
the
go.
white lady from
Yeah,
Right for Fragility.
yeah, we're not doing fucking. Yeah, it was her. That lady. She's a genius. Yeah, we're not doing that. We don't need to come. We we'll do it. They'll do anything besides address the issue. It's like, let's just call black people a different name. Then it will be better. Let's call minorities a different thing. Let's just put them all in the thing. BPOP.
And yeah,
Now we could, yeah, get the fuck out of here, man. So yeah, I got to use my platform just to show the comedy in it. So it was in the real and the true, some of the funniest comedy comes from humans doing silly shit.
yeah.
That's like my favorite stuff, man. Human psychology, and so these headlines, I would just find them. I trained my algorithm, because they said, "Oh, your algorithm is telling you." I said, "Oh, I'll tell it exactly what I like." And so I've been world star. Like, I want the ratchet shit, and then I go, let's look at MSNBC or something. Let's look at the alt right and see what the fuck those guys are talking about. I was just looking at different things on Twitter, and not just seeing what everyone has something funny to say, and I just pick the funniest thing, and try to see if it's verified. I wouldn't want to share it like an Onion head title
Yeah, yeah.
as if it's real, but it's like, oh, this was a real story somebody wrote, and then, or this is something they're doing. They're canceling that. Oh shit, okay, this is happening, man. It's hilarious, man. They can't see that. So I just use it as I use social media for what it should be, for me. I want it to where you come to my channel and you're seeing what's happening in the world, but you're able to laugh at it.
Yeah.
If it's hella serious, man, let's talk about it in person, man. Let's really get together and do it. I'm not gonna be on. You won't find me crying on Instagram. I'm there to have a good time, and to entertain, and to sell some shit, man, to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
So you can buy this. Call for sale. Yeah, you got some of the drip, man.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah, my guy, remember that drip lord, boy. So yeah, man, it's all good, man. I've been wanting to do a clothing line for 10 years, but comedy got in the way.
Yeah.
So now So I was able to do some stuff, man, and we got a lot of life. Life is long, man, and it's really long if you make the wrong decisions. I know Chris Rock had a bit about that that was so funny because he was like, I remember he said, "Life is life." People say life is short. He goes, "Life is long," especially when you marry the wrong woman. And something hella funny, something funny, but it's true, man. It's long. Whether we're not promised tomorrow, but if you're here for another 10 years, it's like, how is it gonna be, man? What do you want to do? And I want to do some fly, fun, dope shit, make some money, so the people around me don't have to work and waste their time. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have a good time. Yeah,
yeah, it kind of like brings us back to where we started about like patience. Have that like understand that life's long. Like have like the patience to frickin' like make a plan and go with it kind of thing. Like and like you said, now you're thinking more. Like now I you think and you're asking yourself those questions. What do I want? How do I want to build this? How do I want to
fact.
live? And how do I want to provide for the people I care for? So like that's
That's
a
a fact.
yeah, man. Fucking and yeah, I love that. All right, buddy. I gotta ask you the question of the podcast, and then we're fucking out of here. But Dino
Dude, what
Arch,
a great, what a. I'm so glad we got to finally do this, man. I hope we do it again, man. I miss you, man. It's a great hang, man. When I get to Calgary, we gonna kick it.
hell yeah, buddy. I miss you too, man. All right, Dino. Fucking the question
Give
of the
it to me.
podcast: God, yay or nay?
God, yay, man. God, yay, but not the God that they say.
Hmm.
Not the God that they say. Not the white Swedish Jesus is dad.
The IKEA Jesus?
You're not not IKEA Jesus is dad, man. It gotta be something. Not petty God. Not petty God neither. I want the cool God. Yeah. I want the drippery the dope God who's not just hella petty and about some old rules. I think God, yeah, but something that just is gonna blow our mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I'm hoping for.
hey, I wouldn't mind that myself, my bad. All right, brother. Tell people where they can get a hold of you. You got four comedy specials on your website, so tell them where they can. Well, on your website, tell them about that, and tell them about your clothing line as well, man.
Oh, beloved, you can find me DinoArchie.com. There's no tour dates, zero, but I got some comedy albums on there, some good pieces of work, and you could holler at me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active at Dino the Beloved. Dino the Beloved on Instagram, and I make these hoodies and all sorts of shirts and cool drippery when wet, the drip lord, Drip James. That's one of the things they call me, in the streets. But yeah, support black business. That's what I'll tell people. Support black, BPOC, uh, BOPOC. Holler at me. Holler at me, man. Thanks for having me, North. Let's tap in again.
Fuck yeah, man. Thanks, buddy.